Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
This is my boomstick.
Here's Johnny.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Righteous! Righteous! Yeah!
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Good morning, Vietnam!
Houston, we have a problem.
The first rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. My name is Will Spalding, and as always, I'm joined by Sjdierberger. Sam, what's going on?
How we doing today?
Pretty good.
Good. I'm fantastic as always. You might notice it is, if you obviously all of our fans listen the day the episode comes out. They're just thirsting.
Yeah.
At the hour, they're just thirsting for more content, and we haven't ghosted you. Granted, we have pushed this recording back a few days. If you notice, it is Friday, but
Yes.
we have a reasonable excuse.
Yeah, I mean, long story short, I got surgery. So a minor surgery. Just
pretty serious surgery.
Yeah. Open heart.
Quadruple bypass.
Yeah. No, kidding. I just got some wisdom teeth out, all four of them, but I'm feeling good. Not too much pain yet. Hopefully it stays that way. So
Yes.
But yes, we had to take a couple days because of that. But we're here. I'm back in the office at TFN headquarters. The interns are still walking around. I don't know what they're doing. But you know,
I had to manage them all alone for the last
oh my gosh,
few days.
yeah, must have been miserable. But ever since Minnesota has opened up in terms of COVID protocol, everyone's back at the office at TFN. And man, is it busy. So we should just put that out there.
Yes, of course. But tonight, this morning, we're going to be talking about Cruella.
Let me give you some advice. You can't care about anyone else. Everyone else is an obstacle. You care what an obstacle wants or feels, you're dead. If I cared about anyone or thing, I might have died. You have the talent. Whether you have the killer instinct is the big question.
Oh, Cruella. Cruella Devil.
Cruella Devil. What a stupid. I mean, we'll get into that, but what a stupid. God. Okay.
Yeah, so we're talking Cruella, the new Emma Stone, Emma Thompson, Disney live action, not necessarily remake. Actually, no, I guess it's a remake, but it already was a live action remake. So I don't really know what to classify this as.
It's a prequel.
Yeah, okay. All right. Yes.
And I'll tell you, I did some research on this. We'll talk about it.
Good. Did you or the interns?
Well, the interns dug it up, and then they they gave me a summary.
Okay, I see. That's fair.
I got the talking points right here.
Right. Okay. Well, before we get into Cruella, there's one industry news I want to just kind of touch on, Sam, and then you add in whatever you'd like, and if you have anything else, we can talk about that too. But a little news involving one Taylor Swift, interestingly enough, and that is that she has joined the cast of the new David O. Russell film. And we know David O. Russell from films like Silver Linings Playbook and The Fighter, American Hustle, but he's got a new movie coming out, and it has a lot of people talking. It's starring Christian Bale. I don't know if we've talked about this, Sam, but it's starring Christian Bale, Margot Robbie, John David Washington, Rami Malek, Zoe Saldana, Anya Taylor-Joy, Timothy Olyphant, Mike Myers, Chris Rock, Michael Shannon, Robert De Niro, and recently joined Taylor Swift. So, Sam, this is allegedly called Canterbury Glass. Not really sure when this is coming out yet. Might be this year, might be next year. But it revolves around a doctor and a lawyer who form an unlikely partnership. So we don't really know much about it other than really stacked cast. But Sam, Taylor Swift joining this cast isn't super interesting. In fact, I don't really care about that at all. But what I do want to ask you about is more, because I think this leads to an interesting conversation, is what are your thoughts on singers, musicians working their way into the acting world, or vice versa, actors working their way. Do you have any thoughts on that? I think
I actually do. This is a fascinating discussion.
I think so too.
I first encountered this with a fella named Kiefer Sutherland. Now, Kiefer Sutherland, obviously very famous for his roles in 24 and Designated Survivor, primarily on TV, but he's had some pretty prominent movie roles too. His dad obviously is sort of a legendary Canadian actor. And around like 2014 or something, he started releasing like albums like of songs, he wrote. And I think it's decent music. It's not incredible, but I like it. It's kind of my genre. It's kind of my taste. And he talked about in interviews, because I was just fascinated by this concept of being like, okay, you have all this money, what are you gonna do with it as a side project? And he goes, there's this stigma about actors getting into music. Bruce Willis did it back in like the 80s and 90s. He had like a rock band or something, and like stuff like that. Because like there's a stigma there. There's a stigma of actors getting into music, but less of a stigma of singers getting into acting. And I think that's very interesting. You point to someone like Leslie Odom Jr.
For sure, he's a great example.
He's able to integrate his musical ability into most of his film roles. So, that's part of it. But there are other people who start out as singers and are actually good actors on their own, independent of their musical ability. I've alluded to my love of Tom Waits before. Tom Waits is actually a decently prolific kind of character actor. Definitely a bit of a typecast, but really, really good when he's properly placed. I mean, it's an interesting conversation to have. What are your thoughts on this?
I think for some people, how do I put this? Some people are really talented.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talented at all, so I can't really speak to this a super amount. But someone like Taylor Swift is a fine example, but like Justin Timberlake, or even kind of Jamie Foxx to a certain extent, Donald Glover. Those four people I just listed, they're all super talented in so many different aspects. Jamie Foxx, for example, could probably be the best serious actor working if you really wanted to dial in there. He's one of the funnier people in terms of stand-up, so he could definitely be one of the best comedians in the world if you wanted to. Fox appears on I mean, he's a great piano player. We know that. You know, he's done a few songs with Jay-Z even. Like, he's a decent singer. You know, it's funny when you look at someone like that and they're just so versed in so many different aspects. It's almost like you want them to dial into one thing. Same with
Right.
and Taylor Swift has mostly just done singing, but she's starting to get into the acting world, which again, that's her decision. So go for it. But you know, someone like Timberlake, I think is the perfect example of that. Is, you know, he's one of the biggest pop stars in the world. He has 2 albums out, which is not a lot for a super huge pop star. And then he goes and makes The Social Network, and that kind of screws him up because, you know, now he's thinking, oh, this acting thing is pretty cool. Yeah, well, you're not going to do every movie with David Fincher. So then he goes on to do a lot of like rom-coms with Mila Kunis and things like that. And then, you know, then he comes back to music 6 years later and he loses a step, you know. He's really good in The Social Network and could probably be a great actor. But when he's not focused on one thing, I don't know. It kind of upsets me. Like, and not to say that they can't do more than one thing because they're totally entitled to. But some people just need to focus in on one thing, I think. I don't think Taylor is really one of those. I just thought that it sparked an interesting conversation.
Well, it's interesting too because I feel like in kind of the 21st century more, we've seen a new sweep of entertainers that kind of they do music and they do movies. And they kind of get their start with a little bit of both. You know, those things happen simultaneously.
Sure.
When they're big. Like, same thing happened with Justin Timberlake. I mean, he was a pop star while also getting his start with, you know, Disney Playhouse or whatever the heck that was. So it's like, you know, he's kind of a little bit of both. And he started that way. Whereas I think before, in kind of the later 20th century, it was very much like you started into one thing, you established yourself in one industry, and then you crossed over. And then you found success or failure in that next industry, depending on how you were in the first, how popular you were, you know. Bruce Willis was able to sell some records because he was in Die Hard, which is sad to say, but that's a calculation, you know, going in, right?
Yeah, I think Alan Rickman had a couple albums playing from Die Hard too. So must just have been that movie. Yeah,
it would have been just like spoken word pieces,
right?
Just Alan Rickman, just delivering like poetry or something.
Right.
I don't know.
R.I.P. in pieces. All right. That's really all I had, Sam, in terms of industry news. Pretty light this week, but did you have anything?
Indiana Jones 5 starts shooting next week
in
the United Kingdom. I've seen some set photos. I am fangirling on the inside right now. And I saw a picture of Harrison Ford at some like British pub outside of London, just enjoying whiskey after he arrived in the UK for filming. And I'm like, oh my God. So I won't go into it any more than that, but I am beyond excited, even though I really shouldn't be.
So there's not a title for that yet, right?
No.
Okay. I didn't think so. I did see he's going to be 80 by the time this is released. Oh my gosh. He's going to be dead.
He's going to be 79 this year. I will say there have been some rumors swirling around about plot. And, okay, get this. Okay, real quick.
I'm listening.
Mads Mikkelsen as
him.
an ex-Nazi rocket scientist.
Okay.
Was brought in by the U.S. government during Operation Paperclip to help put a man on the moon in 1969. But really, he has, you know, bad intentions.
So Indian space is what you're saying.
Yes.
If I don't see Harrison Ford on the moon in Indiana Jones 5, let's just say I'll be asking for a refund. So, no, just kidding. That's interesting. We had kind of said something about maybe some sort of Cold War thing, and with that maybe something to do with the space race would be kind of cool.
Right.
Maybe Mads is feeding information to the Soviets, or maybe he's just got his own intentions. I don't know, but that sounds cool. Whatever Harrison Ford and Mangold and company have in store for us, I'm there. I'm there.
So excited. But yeah, anyway, that's enough for today. Are we ready to get into Cruella?
Let's do it.
She thought she owned everyone. It's foolish. Unhinged. Or you'll find it. Why are you speaking? I think you mixed me. But there's something about poetic justice that's just so poetic. You won't admit you...
Oh, Sam, there is just something about poetic justice that's just so poetic,
I hated that line. God.
But yeah, this feels like Cruella kind of feels like the return to theaters almost. We're gonna start. Feel like we're gonna start getting back there more. We have a Quiet Place 2 next weekend, which you've already seen. Or next week, I should say, will be our episode. And then from there, we kind of hit the summer movies in stride, and this is exciting. But we're here to talk about Cruella today. Sam, I guess let me just hear your initial thoughts.
Cruella is interesting. It's strange because I'm not quite sure what it wants to be. And maybe it does know what it wants to be. It's just that I can't tell. This movie is rated PG-13, I think. And it wants to be R so bad.
Yeah, it tiptoes that line.
But they just couldn't make it R. I mean, they need a good box office return on this. So yeah, it wants to be R really, really bad. But it's because it's dark. It's like twisted, but it's also at times cartoonish and very light and campy. So yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a strange project, but I think that while the plot is very simple, relatively condensed, I think it plays off very well. I think we have some phenomenal acting here.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a wholesomely entertaining movie. That's probably what I'd say.
Yeah, good. I mean, I'd echo a lot of those same thoughts. I thought this was really entertaining. And a lot of technical aspects are here, Stone is really great. And Thompson's a cool villain. Or I guess she's kind of the villain, but Stone is even kind of an antagonist in her own right. But yeah, a lot of great things here. I feel like there's a lot to talk about, but where I really wanted to start too, Sam, after we got our initial thoughts being, I liked it. I enjoyed this a lot, but, in my opinion, Sam, this might be the best Disney live action remake. I mean, we've seen some stinkers over the past, half decade. And this one might be the best one. So in comparison to all the others, I think it blew most of those out of the water. The Lion King from 2019, not good. Aladdin, not great. Gosh, what else was there even? The Jungle Book was decent. Beauty and the Beast was okay. Dumbo just looked horrible. I didn't even see that, So this, not that this had a ton of competition to smash, but I think it definitely holds up as one of the better Disney live action remakes. Starting with, I think think it was Maleficent in 2014, maybe.
Yeah, something like that. But I mean, this gets back into this discussion. It is a prequel. It's not quite a remake.
Sure. Oh, Mulan. Oh gosh, forgot about that.
Oh yeah, Mulan. That's the big one, I think. But
Yeah.
I think the annoyance with a lot of these live action remakes from Disney was that it's like people love animated Disney movies and they grow up on them and they're attached to them, and then you go and just make them with slightly more realistic looking imagery.
Right. Most of them are still animated.
Right.
It's like,
and then people are like, okay, you're not even trying to be creative. Like,
right.
And people go see them because people are stupid, but
including me.
Right. And so, yeah. So that's why I think Cruella plays off better. Is it took some creativity to come up with an origin story for this kind of iconic villain. And,
yeah, why don't you talk about that a little bit? Those notes that the interns typed up.
yes.
Just
so
give us a rundown.
If you look at the development section on the Wikipedia page, it says basically a live-action Cruella de Vil film based upon the character in Disney's 101 Dalmatians franchise was announced in 2013. Andrew Gunn was hired to produce the film with Glenn Close, who previously played the character in the previous 1996 live-action adaptation 101 Dalmatians and the sequel 102 Dalmatians, serving as executive producer. So you have Glenn Close as a producer on this. And it says, and Kelly Marcel revising the script, originally written by Aline Brosh McKenna. It says costume designer Jenny Beavan later stated that a role on the film was to help Stone appear as a younger 1970s portrayal of Close's 1990s role in 101 Dalmatians, confirming the shared continuity between the films.
Okay, so this is
it's a direct prequel to the movies from the 90s.
Interesting. Okay, cool.
Yes.
That's really cool, actually. Okay. Have you seen those movies, Sam?
Long time ago.
I don't think so.
Long time ago. I don't remember much from them, but yeah, I don't remember much from them. I really don't. But there's some of the same characters. I was looking into this, like Hugh Laurie plays Jasper, Mark Williams as Horace. So there's like shared characters. I'm not super up to date on my 101 Dalmatians lore. but yeah, there is like continuity. Like it's a franchise for sure.
Wow, that's interesting. I did not know that going in until you mentioned it right now. Huh. I guess that's good on them for trying to tie these two things together. That's cool.
And I did see a section indicating a possible sequel, also starring Stone. So
yeah, I mean, avoiding spoilers, but it's definitely set up at the end of the movie as kind of like a franchise, or it's definitely setting up sequels. So yeah, interesting. But we can get into that towards the end of the show. But for now, let's just get into Cruella a bit more. And Sam, when I was watching this, while I was about halfway through it, I thought, wow, well, this is winning 2 Oscars. I mean, this is the multi-Oscar winner movie right here, Sam.
Sure.
Not that it even really needed to super try, but I mean, those costumes, there's nothing that's going to beat that. The makeup and hair as well. So,
right.
Not too often you walk into a movie and before you even leave, you said, well, this is winning multiple Oscars. So that's kind of cool. I mean, Granted, they're smaller awards, but
Yeah.
interesting. So
Yeah.
um,
Well deserved.
yeah. What else did you like about this? And then we'll get into some negatives.
Production design was phenomenal. In a lot of places. The apartment, very well furnished.
Yeah.
Looked super realistic, kind of capturing that 1970s kind of pre-punk era, the Clash, London Calling type thing. I really dug that. I thought it was a great setting, and I think the production design was fantastic in kind of transforming a lot of those streets in London, and well, probably not in London, but making it look like 1970s London. Really, really cool.
Right.
And like I said, acting phenomenal. I knew that we would get a good performance out of Emma Stone because we always do.
Yeah, she's so great, man.
But she like
Oh, it's so good.
she absolutely nailed the accent.
Yeah.
Like I was telling my dad, I'm like, I haven't heard a better a better British accent from an American in quite some time.
Yeah, man, she killed it for sure.
Really did a lot with a script that was occasionally kind of lackluster. I loved the interplay between the characters. I thought that Emma Thompson was also phenomenal as the Baroness. Really just a great character, a lot of fun. Fun to watch. And then also I really liked Paul Walter Hauser and Joel Fry as Horace and Jasper respectively. And their whole little, like back and forth. Like they were a great little kind of comic relief to the film.
For sure. Those two, Jasper and Horace, yeah, I thought they did great. Those actors were awesome, and kind of as a good, yeah, like you said, comedic relief and kind of sidekicks to Emma Stone's Cruella was really awesome. I mean, Horace honestly made me laugh a couple times out loud, and he had a couple funny moments. I mean, there are kind of cheap laughs, but still, a laugh's a laugh. So,
Definitely.
Yeah, I definitely loved a lot of the interactions that Emma Stone had. So with those two, and especially Emma Thompson, I thought pretty much every scene they were in together, the two Emmas, was great. And just I think, in terms of plotting and pacing wise, the script might not have been excellent, but I thought in terms of dialogue, especially in those scenes, I thought it was great. As we're kind of unfolding the mystery along with Estella, Emma Stone's character, as she is. So yeah, I liked a lot of that, and then of course you've mentioned it, but a lot of technical aspects were there too, which we haven't seen from these Disney live action remakes in efforts past. So it was good to see that there was thought and creativity and artistic value put into this, and that it wasn't just thrown together because it's going to make money no matter what we put on the screen. So yeah, that was really good to see. It was almost a breath of fresh air coming from the corporation that is Disney.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised with how much work they put into it. Which
yeah, and
really
actually,
ignorant.
You mentioned it, but not too many times do you feel like the city is part of the movie. You could really a lot of movies, you could just kind of pick up and place in a different city and it wouldn't really matter. But I thought the setting of London and the backdrop of London really fit this pretty well, especially the 70s London. So that was cool too, that they almost seemed like they utilized it to a T. So yeah, liked a lot of that.
Yeah. And that gets into actually the soundtrack. I'll call it a soundtrack. There's a difference between a soundtrack and a score.
Oh, there's a big difference. Yeah, this is the soundtrack, though. You're right.
This is all soundtracked, and I dig the music being played because I just like the music as it is, like anyway. But there is a new song being played like every minute and a half. Like how many songs
There's a lot of music.
they put in here? All just like 70s kind of early punk rock numbers. A lot of Queen.
Oh my
lot of-
gosh, yeah. You have to have Queen.
A lot of Blondie, The Clash, Supertramp. So, yeah, that was interesting.
Last thing I'll say before we get into some negatives, unless you have one more.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
The last thing I'll say before we get into some negatives is this trailer or this promo was really pretty good. They had a couple really good trailers, which definitely built my anticipation. And I was excited to see what they do with the voiceover. It played in the trailer. The Emma Thompson voiceover I thought was used effectively in that first trailer, which I didn't play, but you can look it up if you'd like. The first trailer is an Emma Stone voiceover, and we kind of hear her narrating things. And they pulled that punch pretty quickly. I was interested to see how they would use that, and it was basically her narrating her childhood, or as her childhood is going on, she's kind of narrating.
Yeah, something like that.
Didn't love that. That wasn't super great. But they used Emma Thompson in the second trailer, which I played in this episode. They used that effectively. That was good. So they got half of it right. But didn't
Right.
Didn't love the initial voiceover at the beginning. Kind of took me out of it.
Yeah.
Which isn't the end of the world. It was only 5 minutes, so that it was okay. But let's see, what other negatives did I have? I feel like every movie, when somebody really comes into their own, I won't say when this is used, but sympathy for the devil is used so often in movies. I smacked my forehead when that song came on. I legitimately in the theater smacked my forehead. I was like, oh my gosh, this plays all the time.
Right.
I had a few other, there are some pacing issues, and some general plot structuring that could have been tuned a little better. But what negatives did you have, Sam?
I'm with you on kind of the opening sequence there. The whole childhood upbringing. I just like at first the movie got better as it went on because like that first 20 minutes I was like, oh my god, this is going to be really bad.
Yeah, it wasn't it wasn't great.
Once Emma Stone shows up on screen, it gets better. But yeah, I just thought her mother, air quotes, her mother's death was so just out of nowhere and like super comical, and like the movie doesn't let you think it's funny, but I laughed. Like I was like, that's just ridiculous. Like I'm like, that's what I'm getting at when I talk about this kind of wants an R rating, because it's like it's super really dramatic and dark, but also it's just like so stupid that's how she died. She got pushed off a cliff by some Dalmatians.
Yeah.
But the movie doesn't let you just like sit around and be like, okay, that's kind of funny. So I wasn't a big fan of that. I thought that happened really quick. Like you said, pacing issues. Oh my God. We didn't have time to catch our breaths.
Yeah, those first 15 minutes, you're right. We were kind of jumping all over the place.
And it was, and kind of her development as a child, this kind of like anti-authority attitude was just so generic, and just it's been done so many times before. It's like, I've always been different. Whole thing.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is gonna be, but I don't think those opening 15 minutes coordinate particularly well with the rest of the film, because once Emma Stone shows up, it gets a lot better. And I don't really see a whole lot of connections between Cruella and her childhood self.
Sure.
Personally, I just thought that was a flaw in character development, but yeah, it gets better as it goes on.
Yeah. One other thing I wanted to mention, when she gets the job at the clothes store, not with the Baroness, but at that first clothes store. This is kind of my last big negative. Might not seem super big, but it really stuck out to me. You know what I'm talking about, where she gets her first job and it's at the store, and she's just doing cleaning. She can't really get a design job, so she's just doing cleaning. And that first, she walks into the building, and it's like a tracking shot, kind of spinny cam, and then it eventually works its way down to her cleaning the bathroom or something. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
I thought that was so bad. I actually closed my eyes. I couldn't. I was getting.
Why did you think it was bad?
I hate spinny cam. It just annoys the crap out of me. I'm fine with tracking shots, but when it was just spinning around the store, just like showing us everything, I thought it was terrible.
This is the same shot when it like zooms in from the top.
Yeah, it zooms in
like
from the ceiling
through the roof.
Yeah, I think it's just it's like look what we can do. Look at I just think it's kind of a cheap.
I thought it was cool. I think it was maybe unnecessary. Like, that was a long shot. It was probably almost 2 minutes long.
I had to close my eyes. I just thought it was bad. I didn't think it looked good, but that's just me, I guess.
Okay, rather specific.
Yeah, I don't know, that was brutal to me. It was brutal, but again, kind of a small nitpick. But
my nitpick actually would be when she gets similar section of the movie, when she gets drunk and redoes the display in the front of the store that one night in kind of just like a kind of rage almost. I just thought that was dumb. Like,
yeah, sure.
She's supposed to be this creative genius, and she does it when she's drunk. It's just kind of, it didn't jive with her character. And then this gets into, like, Emma Stone is very much playing two characters here. She's playing Estella and she's playing Cruella.
Correct.
And Estella is your typical Emma Stone role. like this quiet, sort of shy.
Yeah. Crazy
Um,
Stupid Love character from that.
yes.
Easy A.
Right.
La La Land to an extent.
So that's funny. And then she transforms into Cruella, and she's absolutely unrecognizable. You're like,
Yeah, for sure.
What did you do to Emma Stone? But yeah. So
Absolutely.
that's another positive. She kind of has to juggle two roles, really.
Yeah, and we can get into the plot a little bit before we hit some star ratings and recommends here. But I thought, we kind of mentioned the pacing a little bit, but once it kind of gets going and settles in to where Emma Stone starts working for the Baroness, once Estella works for the Baroness and kind of figures out that, hey, she had something to do with the death of her mother, I think it kind of settles in a little bit and hits a groove. There's still some issues, obviously.
Mhm.
A lot of stylish editing. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it either. I thought it was just kind of there. I don't know. What are your thoughts on, especially that, like, the montage scene or scenes where kind of like the newspaper clippings are on the screen. What'd you think of that, Sam?
I thought those were fine.
Okay. We had the same
they're
thought.
not. Yeah, I mean, they've been done before, probably to better extents, but it was all right. The thing I would mention, though, character-wise, is how quickly she really goes insane. It's quite a jump.
Yeah.
And
Kind of spoilers
it's a
here,
li-
but I'll just kind of give it a little backstory. So essentially, she figures out pretty quickly that her mother was killed by Emma Thompson's character. That it wasn't her the whole time, and she basically goes crazy right after that. And this is maybe 40 minutes into the film. Into the film. So, yeah. Anyway, Sam, continue.
Yeah, so it's a bit off-putting because it's like that happens really quickly. And then we kind of see this later in the movie. We see this kind of like return back, like she kind of reconciles with Horace and Jasper. She's like,
right,
because she like just throws them to the wayside.
I didn't love that. It seemed a little jarring to me.
And she breaks them out of prison then, and they're like, yeah, well, screw you. You just kind of gave up on us.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah, and then we had that scene where the Baroness kills her, again, air quotes, by burning her down. It's kind of an annoying, like, kind of ploy that they throw into movies where light the house on fire, tie up the characters. That was kind of boring and unimaginative.
Yeah.
It's like, shoot the person first, let their body burn, and then you won't know whether they died by a gunshot or fire.
Right.
But yeah, a little morbid. So that's a bit of a critique.
And then I wanted to get your thoughts on the reveal that the Baroness was indeed Estella's mother. What'd you think about that?
Good twist, effective twist.
Sure.
Told very poorly. There are probably 10 better ways to tell that
than just
the butler
dialogue. Yeah.
Yes, the butler sitting her down. Let me tell you a story. Flashback.
Right.
Good makeup on Emma Thompson, making her look, 30 years old in that flashback.
Yeah.
Kind of impressive. But yeah, I wasn't a big fan of that. I wanted more out of the butler too. I thought he was an interesting character because then he agrees to help her in her evil conquest.
Yeah, Mark Strong, the actor, is kind of a pretty good British character actor that pops up a lot in pretty much strictly British movies. From like 1917 to Kingsman to Sherlock Holmes and Cruella and all sorts of stuff, Imitation Game. But yeah, I thought he was good. Maybe you would have liked a bit more out of him. He kind of helps her at the end by setting up the Baroness and kind of getting her arrested. But yeah, you might be right. Might have wanted a bit more out of him.
Yeah, and there's some practical things to that ending too. If you want to get out into it, like
let's get into the ending.
The parachute, really? Really? Okay. Also,
I thought that was fine. That's just a plot device to make sure she lives.
Yeah.
I thought it was fine, but maybe a little ridiculous, but sure.
Kind of preposterous. There are so many, like, she creates a new legal identity for herself. Like, Cruella is no longer just like a stage name. It is a legal identity.
Right.
Like, she invents a person, and we just didn't get into that.
Correct.
Because she fakes Estella's death. So there's that, but you need to tie it up, and it was already running over 2 hours, which...
Yeah, there's no reason this should be 2 hours and 10 minutes. This should be an hour 50, hour 55.
Yeah.
We said that about
we were already running over time, so we had to like quick tie it up. How does she inherit the estate? Yada yada yada. So there's that. There's a birth certificate apparently that confirms that she is actually the Baroness's kid, which is just kind of shoehorned in. Later, it's like, okay, yeah, where's your proof? There's a birth certificate. Okay. So, yeah, and that's why I said at the beginning, this movie with the character interplay is very condensed. Like, we really have, it's like 2 or 3 major players.
Right.
And through a lot of happenstance, they're all connected, you know? So if you take a step back, maybe you're not so much of a fan of that, but while you're watching it, it comes off pretty well. It works.
Sure. And then, the kind of final thing is we're at Estella's funeral because she's now gone, I guess. Or faked her death, whatever, killed her. And I thought, this is what I was kind of saying, where the Horace character is actually tearing up. And Jasper is like, well, mate, she's not actually dead.
She's not dead, mate.
I thought that was funny. We had a couple of those moments, and yes, they were probably cheap laughs, but I thought it was still funny.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
And then, of course, she walks into the estate, and we got to hear sympathy for the devil. The part I was alluding to earlier, but I thought it was a good conclusion, a decent wrap up, and obviously setting up for sequels as Cruella, no longer Estella, but as Cruella. And Sam, I guess my ultimate question to you is: would you see another one of these?
Maybe, depending on what they do with it.
Maybe. Okay. I mean, obviously, Emma Thompson would not be involved.
Well, she faked her death too. No, she's in prison. Never mind.
I mean, I guess I was going to say she could be involved, I suppose, but
she gets paroled.
Yeah. Cruella is her parole officer. But no, I would see another one of these. I think depending on how they go with this, I think it could just be kind of a cool, like, her just doing bad things with Horace and Jasper, I guess. Maybe something to
we
do
kind
with
of have a hint towards a romantic relationship between Cruella and Jasper, which
maybe a little.
I feel like they're itching to explore, but we had to keep it PG-13, I guess. So
yeah,
such is life.
So correct. Well, anyway, Sam, any wrap up thoughts before we get into star ratings? We've been here for a little while.
Yeah, I think Cruella it's a good time. It fulfills your expectations. I think it's worth a watch, certainly. What are your wrap up thoughts?
Yeah, I'd agree. It's fun. It's fun to see in the theaters. And comparatively to all the other Disney live action remakes, The Lion King, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, so many, Dumbo, Mulan, all of them. I think this one sizes up better than every single one of those. So yeah, good on Disney for that. Maybe we'll start seeing the turnaround a little bit to see if they have something to say with all of their live action remakes that seem to inevitably come out like 3 a year.
Right.
So yeah, I really like this, and the highlight is obviously Emma Stone. So thought she was great. But Sam, should we get into some star ratings?
Sure.
Go for it.
Let's talk some star ratings. I'm gonna give this 3 out of 5 stars. I think that's just about right. I don't think there's any caveats to that. It's a decent movie. It's worth seeing. But there's some serious pacing issues and issues with the script. But check it out.
Good.
How about you, Will?
I'm going half star higher than you. I'll go 3.5. It's close to a 3, but I think I'm gonna give it 3.5. So yeah, there we go. Cruella, check mark. Next week we'll have A Quiet Place Part 2, but for now, some recommendations for the week, Sam. Would you like to start, or should I not start us off?
You should knock one out. Go ahead.
Well, so since I've under doctor's orders to be resting for this for these next few days,
that's right.
I've been rewatching some of my favorite franchises. I rewatched the Star Wars prequels yesterday because that's what you do when you get your wisdom.
Right. Of course.
But today,
it's better when you're on drugs.
Oh, for sure. George Lucas is just a genius when you're on drugs. Anyway, no, but today I watched and have one left to watch. But I've watched the first two Jason Bourne movies of the Bourne Identity, the Bourne Supremacy, and then about as soon as we sign off here, I'm going to start the Bourne Ultimatum.
Ooh.
So I watched those three, and man, they really hold up. Great action scenes, kind of changed the way action scenes were shot. You know, with a lot of quick cuts and a lot of cuts put together to construct an action scene. And then I don't know, I these really hold up. I watched them. I haven't seen them in a while, and they're quite good. So that'll be my recommendation for the week is the first Bourne trilogy. So Identity, Supremacy, Ultimatum. You know, there's the Jeremy Renner, meh, and then there's the new Jason Bourne movie, which I haven't seen. New, I say, but it was like 4 years ago. Anyway, yeah. So the original 3 Jason Bourne movies with Matt Damon. That's my recommend for the week. And Sam, that leads us.
Yes. So lately, I've been listening to a lot of jazz because
Good.
I don't know. It's summer. Why not? And you know, I'm very much like a piano guy, so I think that piano jazz is the best jazz. My favorite jazz musician is, of course, Thelonious Monk, one of the greatest pianists to ever live, in my opinion. And if you want to get into Thelonious Monk, the best album, the album I've been spinning a lot lately is Monk in Tokyo. It was him playing live in Japan in 1963 with I think 3 other guys.
Right.
You got tenor sax, bass, and drums. But so him on piano really just takes the front seat. Beautiful numbers. It's mostly just jazz standards. With some originals from Thelonious, but it's phenomenal. So check out Monk in Tokyo for your easy summer listening.
Cool. Actually, I will give that I'll give that a play. Do you have that one on vinyl, Sam?
Yes,
Nice.
I do.
Nice. Sounds good.
Yes.
Good.
Worth the purchase. So check it out.
Good. Well, Sam, in the meantime, where can I find you on Letterboxd? If I was looking, I'm clearly not, but
.com/sjdierberger. And where can I find you, Will?
same spot except at Will Spalding, and you can find us at thosefilmnerds.weebly.com and anchor.fm/thosefilmnerds for all of our episodes, and anywhere, any podcast platform at Those Film Nerds, and thosefilmnerds@gmail.com, at Those Film Nerds on Instagram. If you have any, movie related stuff, email it into us. Would be glad to hear from you. But Sam, until next time,
keep watching movies, everyone. Have a great week.
Thank you.